Game number 2 is beginning then, and yes, it's going to be Migration, which is a very rather comfortable map for NCs, and they usually play it because they are training on it quite a lot, and they are actually pretty good at it. Looking at the minimap from the very start, we see quite a lot of fish all around, so I don't really see any kind of problems. Quite a lot of them, literally in all the corners, so I don't see any kind of problems. Potentially here, if Dark Device wants to build the dock in the strait here, he might be a bit disappointed. I don't really see all that many fish in there. Same could be said about purple, that's MBL. So that's slight problem as opposed to their opponents. They are having a bit of in there, but if maybe Andorin builds a dock on the left, he also could be slightly disappointed, as even though there are some fish at the bottom, he will be facing quite some long times of retreating, or rather returning with the catch for the fishing boats, and that might not be ideal and might slow his advance into the next age in the very early game. So looking at the civilizations, we have Dark Device as Viking, Spaden is Persian, and BL is Japanese, and we have a proper mirror with Skittle Viking, Andorin Persian, and Sniper also Japanese. So green, yellow, and blue. Green, yellow, and blue. So that's at the left bottom corner. We can be saying today. Let's throw the chat yet again. And let's, for example, look at Andorin and his home base. So looking at the main island, we don't really see all that much of a problem for him so far. He's having basically safe stone. Gold is also reasonably safe, at least from this side. Could be slightly problematic if they lose early on, but I don't really expect that to be happening, as usually the water fights last for quite some time. And he is also very curiously close to his ally. You can see this is green island, this is yellow island. That usually doesn't happen. You often have some kind of peninsula like this one or this one between the players, so this is highly unusual and could actually allow them to defend quite a lot easier. And maybe even some sneak plays, or rather, if one of the players happens to be losing, he could be just transporting villagers somewhere to his allies island or whatever, and that could be quite interesting to see if this is going to be changing the gameplay for either of the teams. Gold and stone also very safe for Skittle, so not any kind of problem for them. Amount of wood also, and looking at the third last player from NC with Sniper, he's also having very safe gold, which is most important on this map, and also the stone, so any kind of problem should be avoided by just that. He is going for an aggressive dock, so he will be attempting to potentially fight 1v1 with MBL, who is going for a dock a bit more on the defensive side. And this is both Japanese are facing each other, so it's going to be basically a proper 1v1 decided fully by skill. And looking at the underdogs, we see that Spaden is going for on the left, as he's basically aiming for all the fish between him and his opponent, or rather as his ally MBL, and maybe will be aiming to help on the left against Sniper. So yeah, we'll see right on, but usually the pocket also builds the dock on the right side, so yeah, not really anything decisive so far. Il has built a dock also on a defensive side, so it seems like a theme for RFRs who are going for a bit different build. And if I remember correctly, they have played in the Groom stage, and they have played quite interesting map actually, or rather strategy for themselves, and that was a very, very early landing in the feudal age, I think. And let's see if they will be going the same. I think it was Spade in the last game that I'm remembering. And that could be something very surprising for NCs, because I think, if I remember correctly, yet again, NCs are playing basically a bit standard strategy, not really all that aggressive landing from them, a bit of a fight on the water first, and only later a bit of an advance into the mainland. And well, if RFRs are really going for exactly what I'm talking about, it would be quite interesting if NCs will actually have enough time to react to that. Looking at the mines here, we see a bit of gold and also a bit of stone on the right side, so that seems more like in power of RFRs. Not exactly sure if it's going to be making a whole lot of difference, as there is also quite a lot of gold in the middle for NCs, so there shouldn't be any kind of problem with that. But looking on the left, there's one gold, one stone. Okay, so it seems like this middle island is actually spawned quite fairly, and I don't really see any kind of problems for either of the clans. Yeah, you don't really see that all that often. Usually you have some kind of disadvantage for either clan on this kind of map, but so far it doesn't seem to be happening. But how is it dock placement for NCs? Kittle is going for defensive fan. Same could be said about Andorin, but obviously he's a pocket, so they will be very close to each other and potentially cooperating, and it really seems like that Pedro will be the only one on the left fighting, and if he's going to be fighting too, and it might be a bit of a problem, but at the same time opportunity for NCs yet again, as they will be having 2-1 against Dark Levi's, so it would be 2 versus 1 for both of these teams. Bit of a fishing, as it's obviously the fastest food source, so why not use it when it's very close to your mill? And that's interesting. And a very nice idea, using this fishing boat to get, or rather, convert this sheep, and this is going to be very early scouting for him, and very nice idea, and very nicely developed, or rather, executed for Spaden, and this basically is telling me that they will be really aiming for the early landing, just as I was saying. Yeah, right now already scouting what is going to be happening on the main island. When we are waiting at 8 minutes, when the players are going to be advancing into the next ages. So far we are seeing a village account 22, 23, 23, 21, 21, and these seem to be actually behind RFRs, which is slightly interesting. Sniper is right now advancing at 21 villages just. So that's basically just telling you that he's going to be drushing, or rather grushing rather, galley rushing, and it should be second dock just about, I would be expecting maybe at this peninsula or somewhere else, yeah, at this position, and really this should be the aim that he is going for as a Japanese at the early stage of the game. The ship has already found her way all across the island and next to the yellow one. So far not really looking at anything else. And since we are clicking into fuel age here, we'll be seeing where the second docks are going to be built. Spaden is continuing with the dock on the left side. So far not really interested in building yet another dock on the right to potentially help his line Dark Levi's. And that's kinda, really, I have to repeat yet again, conducive to the idea that they might be doing something interesting and unexpected for their opponents. So far just a lot of fishing boats, so that's a pretty strong boom from him. Spaden is going right now at 28 villages, will be having 11 fishing boats very soon. And MBL is building second dock slightly more aggressively, so he's preparing for some kind of aggressive play very soon, but he's right now at 28 villies, and he's not even advancing into the next age, so right now clicking in, so that's basically telling me that he could be in a bit of a attempt to go for faster castle age. There's some kind of problem here, so I'll have to tap out for a moment. Deal with that between POJ and LOS. And yeah, you can see right now from Dark Levi's that he's already having 3 docks and he's going for pretty much standard galley rush, which is something that you would expect as he was advancing similarly to blue player. And yeah, blue player is also going for full-on galley rush, and he's also having quite a nice attempt at right now booming MBL, because he has went for 28 villages and he's going to be losing quite a lot of economy here. But is it really going to be enough? I'm still looking for the Persian player right now. He's going for some early landing, but so far not happening. But we see a bit of a fight on the right side between Skittle and Dark Levi's. And it so far seems to be going slightly for Skittle, who seems to be having higher number of boats, 4 against 4. So right now equal, but really they will be fighting just long enough for themselves to decide who is going to be with the winner, obviously. Andorin in the middle is not doing anything substantial, so he's probably going for faster advance into Castle Age as well. Basically the same as it would be, as is true for MBL and potentially even Spaden. And you can see right now that MBL is basically losing absolutely all economy on water. He's right now having just 4, rather he's having 13 fishing boats, but not really fishing all the much, just on the right side. Spaden and Skittle right now clicking into castle ages, and so far not any kind of landing. And yeah, here it is. Here is the fast landing from Spaden, and they are doing exactly what I was talking about earlier, and this is a very nasty surprise because there's absolutely no signal that the NCs would be doing anything like that, and you can see that, Dark Device is right now being slightly slung so that he can advance sooner into the next ages and would be having slightly more advantage on the water here. So yeah, he will be going for a landing very soon for Spaden. Table right now being built so that he can scout as soon as possible, but with absolutely no scouting going on and even attempt at the landing going on from NCs, this is going to be exactly the strong push. And if MBL together with Dark Device can survive long enough, Spaden will be very nicely booped and could be supplying all the extra resources to make them all that much stronger and able to withstand any kind of pressure in here. Accelerator right now from Spaden, who is the first to advance. The next one is going to be Dark Device, but whereas the first from NC Skittle is going to be just around the corner, the same as from Sniper, who is right now clicking in. But still, Red is basically owning the island, as there's absolutely no attempt from either Green or literally anybody from NCs to go for the mainland, and without any kind of advance this fast, yeah, they are going to be fighting an uphill battle, and I kind of think there's not going to be a way back, because RFRs were having a pretty commanding lead the last game. They executed this kind of strategy, and it's going to be quite deadly for them. Okay, on the water though, they are losing quite heavily, obviously, as MBL wasn't just right now advancing to Castle, so it's going to be even even slower than Sniper was going for a full gallery rush. So I'm not exactly sure why MBL was so slow. Even though he was advancing with so many villagers, he's right now at 35, basically the same as Sniper, and it seems like that, oh, yeah, right now we see the fire ships from Spaden, and this is going to be making quite a lot of difference, as obviously without, or rather with just galleys, yeah, this is going to be quite nasty, and there's not going to be anything at all that the blue player could be doing anything against this. We're just seeing quite a lot of extra TCs being built by the Persian player, and also quite a lot of extra scouting going on from his scout cavalry, trying to make sure that he knows absolutely everything about the island. He's literally everywhere in there. And on the right side, we also see a bit of a fighting between Skittles war galleys and Deal. So far, just galleys, but they should be war galleys in just a moment. Yeah, you can see the upgrade finishing just about now, and yeah, it's going to be pretty much an equal battle. And even in the numbers, I think that's not going to be anything to worry about. Right now, Blue has somehow found his way through into Spaden's domain. He's right now killing his economy, and even though he's making a pretty nice attempt, it's not going to be strong enough, because those fire ships are exactly the correct counter, and yeah, there's absolutely nothing that Sniper can do against that. Right now he is in a pretty horrible position, because obviously he's fighting against pretty strong army right now from MBL, who has returned to the water fully right now, and well, I'm not exactly sure if Spaden needs to be retreating. It would have been pretty nice help to Spaden, or rather to MBL, who is right now having to face war galleys, but yet again, it's probably thinking that MBL is in a pretty sweet spot, and with Botkin Arrow being researched, and of course war galley in just a moment here, yeah, it might be enough for him to deal with Sniper just by himself. On the right, we also see still pretty much an equal battle, with slightly right now going for Skittle potentially, but not really by much. It seems like that both of them are more or less equal, whereas on the land this is just a total ownage by Red, and even though Andorin is right now landing, it's going to be way too late, and if Red is going to be discovering him anytime soon, yeah, he's going to be losing even those 4 villages without any kind of effect. But so far he's not scouting there, just few sheep around the perimeter literally, with Skittle right now clicking into Imperial Age, and that's going to be quite fast advance for him. That's very interesting. And is he actually being slung by Andorin as well? Yeah, Andorin is slinging and quite heavily into Skittle, a bit into Sniper as well, but yeah, Skittle is the most important one that is being slung right now, and well, this is definitely going to be known in the battle here. I forgot to look if his opponent Dark Device also being slung, not by much, and actually no sling from RFRs at all. So let's see if this link is going to be enough, or if the earlier landing from Spaden is going to be the decisive factor here. University and a monastery. Okay, so that's a pretty good combo of knights together with some monks. Convert any kind of units that will be fighting them. And right now on the left, yep, Sniper is having a bit of a trouble because exactly of those fire ships. But they are right now killed, and there don't seem to be any reinforcements just now from Spaden, who is sending just a few of them. But if he was sending a bit more of them, he could actually be making quite a lot of difference, because so far Sniper seems to be holding his ground quite well against MBL, even with the slight reinforcements from Spaden. And really, Spaden could be doing a bit more with all those fire ships. And we also see a bit of a landing right now coming in from MBL, who will be joining Spaden on the mainland. So that's a pretty good moment right now. And Thiel is actually also landed, and he's building a town center at a pretty crucial position, and that's basically as a support for his attempts at the water, where he will be preventing any kind of landing from his opponent's Skittle. That's a pretty good idea, with the extra fire from the DC. Andorian is not yet having any kind of army, or rather, even any kind of town centers. He's right now just walling himself in with one barracks, but is that really going to be enough? I'm not exactly sure. He's right now transporting extra villagers to potentially build some extra DC finally. But, well, he's too slow, and really, Spaden should be worrying about what is happening here, but right now he's heavily worried about what is happening in his mainland, because obviously he's right now losing quite a lot of villages, and yeah, especially those gold mines. And as we were talking about at the start of the game, that gold mines, when they are close to the water, they are slightly problematic. When you lose the water, this is exactly what is happening. Even though Spaden is advancing into Imperial Age, this gold mine is not going to be his. Fortunately for him, though, he's having quite a lot of mines on this right side of the island. If he goes for them, he knows at least about the one, so he should be quite safe. And with the landing right now by MBL Spaden and MBL, with Spaden, MBL and Dark Device, all three of them being very safely landed on the mainland, whereas for NCs it's just the green player. I'm kinda thinking that they are poised to win, even though Spaden might be losing the main island. Because obviously he's not going to mind all that much, but oh, this is going to be close. This is going to be close, but not all that much, as it seems like that Skittle wasn't paying enough attention, and Spaden will be lucky to transport all of those villagers across the strait here, just without any kind of losses, because it doesn't seem like those boats are going to be retreating or rather moving there anytime soon. And right now, especially with MBL going for the save here, as some kind of protection for that. On the left, we don't see all that much of a battle, just right now Sniper waiting for the correct moment to actually advance into some kind of offensive. Yeah, there's not really happening all that much. It seems like that all three RFRs have basically given up on the water, as they are just transporting as many villages as they can on the mainland, and they seem to be doing a pretty good job. Sniper is right now moving also on the mainland with the villages, but they are so slow NCs, and I'm really not sure if they can be fast enough with anything that they're doing right now. Goodbye Scout, you're not going to survive against a pikeman, obviously, the spearman, and this town center is yet again quite nice support for some defensive positions and something to retreat back to. Teal is rebuilding yet another TC here, whereas he has lost on the water, so that was kinda expected. Few idlers in here, and yep, NC should be really careful about what they are doing right now, because they need to kill, rather close the water. They need to close the water as soon as possible, and then full on switch onto the land here, because so far Andorian is the only one who is having some kind of position in here and buildings, and he will be probably the most important one in the next progress of the game. Yeah, there's no question about the water. It's just going to be literally a question of minutes before this is finished, and the mainlands, or rather the main home islands, are basically NCs, especially if some kind of help of cannon galleons could be coming in. And Imperial Age from Andorin is also very important right now. The only one in Imperial so far are Spaden and Skittle, the Persian and Viking, and well, Skittle is so far not even landed, and he's probably not even thinking about it. He seems to be the one that will be controlling the water, but right now he's finally having a transport ship, and if he lands here, that's actually going to be a pretty bad position, because this is fully controlled by Red and Teal. There's not going to be much that Yellow could be doing against that. switch into Skittle. I'm just curious what he's having in there. And yep, quite a lot of villies. And Siege Workshop together with Barracks, and he will be switching us, a Viking, into some kind of infantry, which is of course going to be a good idea. So Clean of Economy of Sweden, who has lost some villages, he's right now at 88, Dark Levi's at 34, and Yale at 61. Varia's Skittle is 49, Andorin 51, Sniper Fort 54, so the huge difference of Spaden, that was the fast landing, and quite a huge amount of TCs here. He's having 1-3, 3 TCs, 4 TCs actually on the mainland, plus one on his own island, which is already dead, unfortunately for him. But still, for TC boom, that was exactly what it took for Spaden to be so nicely boomed. But right now he needs to be careful because Andorin is moving in for the kill, as he's having enough siege together with some nice army, and that's exactly the correct one, the pikeman here. And we can finally see that Spaden is switching into something else, and that's archery range, and he will be switching into arbalests very soon indeed, as that's obviously the correct army against all those pikemen. Andorin could definitely use some extra help, and also this monk to potentially convert some of those villages. And that was very nicely played right now by MBL, who has been able to just at the last moment basically plug this hole where this two was. That's a pretty good job, and really very nicely played. Very nicely played indeed. In the meantime though, Andorin has upgraded into halberdiers. Kept arms right now being researched by Skittle Varias, and BL is going for man-at-arms and chainmail armor, so he'll be switching into full-on champion line, which is also interesting. But looking how he's Japanese, he will need those upgrades as well, because obviously once he goes for castles, there's going to be a lot of samurais from him. On the left, we should be seeing also quite a bit of army, or rather some kind of development from Sniper, but so far not all that much actually. He's having just 2 town centers together with nothing. Yeah, all the extra town centers from Andorin, who is moving very nicely right now as well. Even though he's not having all that many villages, he's right now just going for full-on economy, or rather full-on army, and that's going to backfire because obviously the combination of Spaden and hand cannoneers and the man-at-arms is pretty strong against all those halberdiers, and yeah, without any kind of support he cannot do anything against this, and it's going to backfire because there's not enough knights or paladins or whatever, so that those halberdiers could actually be useful. Those Andorin should be switching it to something else. On the right side, you can see that Skittle has finally landed fully, and he's right now developing into some very nice position here, and he's actually going for a bit of a castle drop, and he should be successful with that, because as soon as he gets rid of this town center, it should be without any kind of problem coming up, as there's not any kind of army on the right side, as most of it is concentrated on the left, fighting against Andorin. In the middle, we just see a lot of buildings from both MBL and Spaden, who are doing all they can. But the loss of the water is right now quite important, as they are facing a lot of problems in here, because they cannot control anything at all, and they are receiving extra damage from all those galleys. Rather, they are galleons? Yeah, they are galleons. Right now, I would be just waiting for some elite cannon galleons, as they could be very easily killing all those buildings, like those TCs and whatnot. But that might not even be needed, and you can see that at this right now just building at least a watchtower to prevent what is happening here, but that's not going to be enough. This castle is coming up, and the right side should be in Skittle's power. Whereas on the left, Andorin is having all kinds of troubles, because he's facing quite strong army against the composition that he was having. And well, those hand cannoneers together with men-at-arms, or rather longswordsmen already, should be strong enough to deal with anything that Andorin is right now sending at him. So far he's not actually sending anything, because he seems to be developing into cavaliers, cavaliers, bloodlines and chain-barded armor, so he will be switching into the knight line, which is also a pretty good idea. And finally something else from also the blue player. So far not, and not exactly sure what his plan is right now. So transporting villages at least, but he's having still a few boats, and he's trying to control what is happening on the mainland here, but probably not all that much. And he's also, oh, he's slinging, that's why he isn't sending anything into the battlefield, because he is right now slinging into Andorin and helping him into the knights here. Also slinging into Skittle, who is doing a pretty good job on the right side, and seems to be advancing slightly further with all those crossbowmen. but it seems to be the army for him as a Viking. Okay, so let's see about that. He is at 146, so he's not even house, so he doesn't need to delete ships yet. But he could definitely use some trebuchets, I would be guessing. But looking at all those hand cannoneers together with the bombard cannons, it's not going to be all that easy for him to advance into the offensive here. And really, I'm not exactly sure if he isn't too slow with this advance. He should definitely be helping a bit more, because on the left the situation is kind of stalled. It's a bit stalled, and Andorin finally switching into the cavaliers right now, and that's going to be the death of those hand cannoneers, and potentially even those long swordsmen. But he could definitely use some hand cannoneers himself. But I'm not exactly sure that he can build both of those units at once, as that would be quite draining to his economy. I'm going to switch into him, even though he's receiving quite a lot of extra slinging. It's probably not going to be enough, and this amount of long swordsmen could be doing some substantial damage, because even though they are not strong unit, they are having the numbers right now. On the left, the TC has fallen, but still those bombard cannons are in here. And finally we are seeing arbalests, and arbalests together with those rams could be just enough. But yeah, it's going to be hard to get rid of all those pesky bombard cannons. Especially when they are getting some good shots and they are having a bit of a cover from those hand cannoneers. Trying to kill the boats here with the bombard cannon. Not a bad idea, obviously. But he needs to be concentrated in here, and those bombard cannons are exactly going to be a pretty big problem. And yeah, well, Skittle definitely needs to build some trebuchets, I would be hoping, because without them, it's going to be very hard to do something substantial fast on the right side, because so far he seems to be a bit too slow, but he doesn't have the resources. You can see on the tab on the very top of the left of the tab here, and really he's not so far having enough luck with that. But just finishing on the right side with the islands here. Whereas on the left, Andorin is having finally a paladins, and yeah, we can see switch finally from MBL into some kind of pikeman, and it's a GG. And actually RFRs recognize that they won't be able to win, and even though they are having pretty good economy, it's not longer true, because Sniper has boomed quite nicely, Andorin as well, and yep. The opportunity that RFR had through the faster advance, or rather through the faster landing of Spaden, is unfortunately for them gone, and NCs have been able to come back, and even though they did have a pretty strong uphill battle, they were able to manage quite well. So pretty good job by NCs, and the tie is at 1-1. Let's have a look at the achievements. Where Skittle is right now the MVP, but he was quite heavily slunk. Yeah, Sniper then slunk quite a lot, but it wasn't all that much into Skittle. It was mainly into Andorin, who was first slinging and then he was slunk. Justin. Alright, GG.